An Emirates jumbo jet crashes in Dubai, apparently due to an engine explosion, and the top half of the plane is destroyed by fire. The jet comes to a halt, appearing as if someone ripped the length of the cabin off with a massive flame-throwing can opener. This whole scenario was like a Hollywood movie segment. What happened? How did the plane catch on fire, and did any casualties happen? Stick till the end of the video to find out. Hello and welcome to Plane Crashes Explained, where we discuss some of the most mind-blowing reasons and facts behind the most heinous plane crashes. Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss future updates. Without further ado, let's get straight into this. Flight 521, a Boeing Company 777-300 on a flight from India, resembled an Asiana Boeing 777-200 crash landing in San Francisco in July 2013, when the plane clipped a seawall, crashed, and burnt near a runway. An Emirates Boeing 777 landed in Dubai on August 3, 2016, attempted a last-second go-around after touching down too far up the runway. The pilots triggered go-around mode and pulled up to rise, but the jet suddenly lost speed and fell onto the runway. The fully loaded 777 rolled over for a kilometer on its belly through Dubai International Airport before coming to a standstill and bursting into flames. While the plane was destroyed, only 3 of the 291 passengers on board died, giving the plane a 99% survivability rate. Emirates is the world's largest operator of the Boeing 777, a long-haul airliner that the airline has been flying since 1996. The carrier's most serious accident in its 31-year history occurred on Wednesday, August 2nd. While all of the passengers were unharmed, a firefighter was killed in the aftermath. Emirates Flight 521 regularly flew from Thiruvananthapuram, India to Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. On India's southern coast, Thiruvananthapuram is one of many locations in the region served by Emirates, the UAE's flag airline, and flights from here to Dubai are generally packed with Indian employees and their families looking for work in the Gulf states. Certainly, Flight 21 was no exception. 282 people boarded the wide-body 777 at Trivandrum International Airport in Thiruvananthapuram, practically all of whom were Indian nationals. 2 pilots and 16 flight attendants accompanied them on the voyage, bringing the total number of passengers to 300. Emirates Aircraft 521 took off from Trivandrum International Airport at 10:06 a.m. Indian time and rose out over the Arabian Sea, heading northwest towards the UAE. Everything was normal during the 3.5-hour flight until Flight 521 began approaching Dubai soon before 12:30 p.m. local time. The weather in Dubai on that particular day was peculiar. A high-pressure system produced temperatures as high as 49 degrees Celsius, 120 degrees Fahrenheit, while 2 low-pressure systems off the coast blew a hot breeze outward from the high-pressure zone towards the sea. Despite the tailwind, Flight 521's pilots had no issues on the final approach, and the jet crossed the runway threshold at normal speed and altitude at 12:37. But from that point on, a series of rapid-fire occurrences began to throw the plane off track. The pilots raised the plane's nose a little too early to flare it, lengthening their glide. The high heat of the runway surface, which had reached a scorching 68 degrees Celsius, 154 degrees Fahrenheit, caused thermals to rise upward off the ground, slowing the plane's fall pace even more. Finally, the plane went right into the wind shear at the height of around 10 feet. As the captain attempted to get the plane to touch down, it barely descended at all, skimming along only a few feet above the ground. "Thermals!" he screamed, mistaking the improved performance of the plane for hot air rising off the ground. "Check," said the first officer, indicating that he agreed that thermals were present. A blast of wind drove the plane left, and the captain overcorrected to the right, forcing the right main landing gear to hit the ground for a brief instant. The captain was beginning to worry they wouldn't be able to land within the designated touchdown zone, in which case Emirates procedures required him to execute a go-around and try their approach again. The captain yelled, "Go around," as both main landing gear bogies contacted the runway. The go-around sequence began immediately. The Boeing 777, like all modern airplanes, features 2 take-off go-around or toga switches on the throttle levers that a pilot can press to commence a go-around. The auto throttle will apply full power by pressing the toga switches, and the flight computer will go into go-around mode. On the other hand, the toga switches are disabled after touchdown, since pressing them unintentionally during rollout could cause the jet to run off the runway. Thrust must be increased manually to accomplish a go-around after touchdown. The pilot of Flight 521, on the other hand, was ignorant that the jet had touched down and that the button had been disabled when he pressed the toga switches. The autothrottle failed to increase engine power when he moved the nose up to rise. The Boeing 777 plummeted back down onto the runway, landing gear retracted before its engines could finish spooling up. As the 300 passengers and personnel grabbed on for dear life, the violent impact sent unsecured objects flying in every direction. The massive plane went down the runway for 800 meters on its belly and engines, leaving a trail of sparks. The right engine sheared off and became wedged in front of the wing as it smashed over the runway edge lights. Finally, the 777 spun nearly 180 degrees and came to a halt partially on a taxiway off the side of runway 12 left, engulfed in dust and smoke. There had been no significant injuries on board Flight 521 during the disaster, but getting 300 people off the plane alive would be difficult. Fires erupted swiftly on both engines and in the right main landing gear bay, instantly pouring white smoke into the middle of the cabin. "Mayday, mayday, mayday, Emirates 521 evacuating," exclaimed the captain from the cockpit. Witnessing the accident, the controller activated the crash alarm and alerted the airport's fire department, which hurried to respond. Meanwhile, the pilots spent about a minute searching through the cockpit for their evacuation checklist, which was strewn about like a sea of miscellaneous debris. Despite observing fire and smoke outside the plane, the flight attendants did not conduct an evacuation on their own, causing traffic jams in the aisles as passengers tried to remove their bags from the overhead bins as they waited. When the evacuation order was given, flight attendants opened the exit doors and deployed the slides. However, they were suddenly confronted with a new issue. Most of the 777's 10 emergency exits were rendered inoperable almost immediately. The wind ripped the L1 slide from its mountings and tossed it to the ground. The R1 slide blew sideways. The L2 and L4 slides blasted upward against the fuselage. The L3 and R2 exits were obstructed by smoke, and the R3 slide did not deploy at all. Before the plane caught fire, the 16 flight attendants had to get 282 passengers out of only 3 exits in the back. The crew did a head count as the survivors gathered in a hangar near the runway and were astounded to discover that everyone on board had escaped the flaming plane. 4 flight attendants were critically hurt, and 21 passengers received minor injuries, while most passengers were unharmed. The firefighters, on the other hand, were not so fortunate. 8 other first responders were critically injured in the explosion, including 5 who were hospitalized due to heat stress caused by the intense temperatures on the runway. Aviation safety experts and inspectors from all over the world were instantly drawn to the crash landing in Dubai. This was Emirates' first deadly crash and aircraft loss, and if anything like this could happen to them, it could happen to anyone. With assistance from Boeing and the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, the UAE's General Civil Aviation Authority, GCAA, initiated an inquiry into the disaster within hours. Investigators also had a lot to say about what happened after the accident. The firefighting reaction was a complete disaster in and of itself, resulting in the accident's single fatality. In 2015, Dubai International Airport held a training exercise to see how airport firemen responded to a simulated runway overrun involving an Airbus A380. The exercise highlighted a slew of issues. The fire commander failed to put together a clear firefighting strategy. Little attention was paid to transporting people to a safe area, and no attempt was made to separate injured and unharmed passengers. Investigations always reveal that there was a personal error that caused the catastrophe. If the authorities and the people behind the wheel were a little more vigilant, the disaster could have been rectified. I think there should always be room for improvement, and people should take it seriously. What do you think about this video? Let us know in the comments section. That's all for today. If you found this video interesting, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to share the video with your friends and family. Thank you for watching.